One, two, one, two,
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all you people out in Cal Jam land. This is a pre-Cal Jam podcast sponsored by our beautiful, great friends over at Voxx Life and Jay Dollywall, who stepped up to the plate big time, help us take the mission of saving the planet to the world. All right, I got a really exciting guest this morning, exciting in my mind at least, and I'm pretty sure by the time we're done, you're going to think the same thing. Mark Debrincat. How'd I do that time?
Sounds great.
All right. Now, Mark, you're working with Jay Dollywall over at Voxx Life, and you're the science. I mean, Jay's pretty friggin' smart, too. You guys are both really smart people. In fact, I hung out with you the other night. We could have talked all night. We just had to call it a night. But I just want to say you're one of the smartest dudes I've hung around in a long time.
Well, thanks, Billy.
Yeah, and Jay's pretty smart, too, though, huh?
Oh, absolutely brilliant.
See, that's what I like to do is I surround myself with smart people to help me make me look a little bit smarter. But so how did you find out about the sock? Is it okay if I call them the magic socks? I mean, I'm sure other people have called it that before.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's almost to a point where it's almost unbelievable. It's too good to be true that the socks work so good. And I'm sure there's a lot of skeptics. I mean, I was a huge skeptic at first, but when you start to see the results, it's kind of hard to refute. So you're the one that's really good, as well as Jay is, but you're kind of a third party explaining the science behind it. Why don't you go ahead and just explain the science between the Voxx socks, the magic socks, but what's the proper term? What does Jay like us to call them?
It's Voxx HPT technology,
Okay.
Human Performance Technology.
Okay, Voxx Human Performance Technology, which you wear on your feet, but also now we've got new patches that you can wear that do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And then
yeah,
also
it's very exciting.
Orthotic. So I can't wait to get some of the patches. He said he was sending me some. I'm going to wear some of those under my wetsuit surfing to see how that affects my performance. So why don't you explain kind of the science behind it, and then what we'll get into is how doctors can learn more about becoming distributors for the product.
Sure. Thanks, Billy. So the technology is just a simple form of tactile stimulation. So it deals with proprioceptors and mechanoreceptors on the bottom of your foot that literally open up and stimulate the brainstem to give it on average, about 30 to 40% more power. And in doing so, we can see changes in the nervous system, tremendous changes very, very quickly. Now, it comes in either an insole that we said, like you said, for your shoes, as far as leather ones for dress shoes, ones for thicker diabetic patients, and then thin ones for sports and all of that. And they got a whole series of socks, too, that also has the tech built into the ball of the foot. So the tech is made first, and the sock is literally built around the tech. So I know they're super high quality socks. They're very comfortable. They last a long time. They're very durable. They're non-microbial, so they're not going to have any odor to them. And you can wear them for 2 or 3 days even before washing them. But it's really not about the sock. It's always about the tech. So when the tech is on your body, it's literally enhancing the way that your brain functions. And so my background, besides chiropractic, is neurofeedback. So for over a decade, I have been studying the brain, and we do brain mapping. And so we literally do a QEEG, which we've done in your office with all you guys.
Right.
And we literally map 19 spots around the brain. And then we can see neurologically what's happening. Like, is it within the normal data range for your age and gender, or is it overstimulating, bombarding the nerves, confusing things, or is there a big lag time where it's understimulating? So, it's one thing to do muscle testing on somebody and see how strong they get instantly. Like, they're 8 times less likely to fall down as soon as we put the tech on them. And that's what the doctors and healthcare practitioners are doing with their patients. And in like 3 seconds, they get it, and they buy a whole handful of these socks because, we know that if you fall down and break a hip after 65 years old, you're 12 times more likely to die that year. 30% more likely to get dementia that year because of the heavy metals that get released into your brains. So, having the ability to have our elderly patients feel more secure and have the ability to hold themselves up better and not use the cane and the walker and be dependent on that it's a miracle. Like you said, miracle socks. We see that happen.
Right.
But even me being impressed by the muscle strength that I immediately have with the tech, I don't fall down and I don't have pain issues anymore. So it's like, that doesn't hold a whole lot of weight. But like you said, when you see your brain and you can see how dysregulated some areas are, and that looks like it's either red or blue. Red means too high of activity, blue's too low. We want it all to be green. And then we see within 7 seconds of putting the tech on you how everything just turns green. I mean, that's the image that I have in my mind every morning when I put my socks on is my brain's got more power now. It's got more reserve. I got a longer fuse.
More
And I have the
clarity.
ability to just be a better me.
Right.
And when we look good and feel good, guess what? We can do good,
Right.
and without that, we don't. And so I've had lots of products that I've vetted over the years. And, I would never recommend a product to my patient unless I had amazing experience with it myself first.
Right, of course,
And,
of course.
and so for me, I wore them for several months and I still didn't even get it. It was kind of like, oh, these are brain socks, but I didn't know what my patient meant that gave it to me. But eventually I did the map
So
on
a patient
myself.
gave them to you first?
Yeah,
That's
a
how you
patient gave them
found-
to me and says, Doc, these are brain socks. You need to give them to all your patients.
Where did
And I'm like,
where did
okay.
he find out about the socks?
They found out from another friend, and it was when it first started, I guess. It's only been 2 years now that Voxx has been commercialized. And in the first year and a half, we already have over 1.5 million customers with less than a 0.5% return rate or exchange.
Right.
So the product works. People love the product. It just took me doing my brain maps before I really got it and got that level of faith.
I mean, when you see objective data that supports the claims, it makes it a lot more believable, and that's why when I was stoked when you came down to our office, because I've always kind of been a little bit leery about muscle testing too. And in fact, I used to do muscle testing, and I probably still would, but it's a lot of work. We used to use one of those, actually a computer that would measure the amount of resistance. To me, that seems like the most objective way to do it, because a lot of times there can be testing, I don't know, bias.
Outside.
Right, other influences. So I like to see numbers that are reproducible. But with the brain maps that you did in our office, that was pretty convincing to show before and after. And I was actually stoked. My brain looked pretty good on the because I was kind of thinking it would be a little Swiss cheese from from going through the 70s. Don't be laughing at me right now.
Yeah. It was very refreshing to see people that are already starting off 75, 80% green, just so you say. So, I'm dealing with a lot of seriously injured people.
I mean, I know you and I do a lot of shit. We're always, traveling everywhere. And I don't know about you. It's just hard for me to remember everybody's names. And it's just like people come up to you that act like they know you and you can't remember where you met them before or where the last time you saw them. And I just don't know if that's just par for what we do for the course. Now, you were a 1994 graduate from Life University, which is one of the schools which also stepped up to the plate big time, helped support CalJam, because they understand that we're going to start attracting more and more general public to the event, which is, my goal is to sell out a stadium. And I figured out a long time ago I'm not going to be able to do that with just chiropractors. And then you have a diplomat in extremity adjusting, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
But where did you get all your? I mean, you're just like kind of like you and I sat together on my patio till I think it was 1:30 in the morning, till I kicked you out because I had to get to bed. But we were just going to the stratosphere with just some major rocket science on the brain. So where did you learn all the brain stuff?
I had a great mentor, Guy Annunziata, who was very much into the cutting edge of new software and new development in this industry. Once the time of neurofeedback went from a 4-second delay before they got the feedback down to 1/100th of a second. So he was in the forefront of all of that. And he brought in a lot of great mentors of his own to do a lot of symposiums. And so I have always been infatuated with the brain and brain health. And, I found a home, in this whole niche of our industry. And then because of my own disability and so forth, then it was a reality. Like I used this whole technology to get out of the wheelchair where I was
Right.
supposed to never walk again,
Right.
you know? And so I
Yeah,
became
before
a
we get to
patient
that story,
first.
because I definitely want you to go off on that story, I just want to interject, if I may,
Yeah.
that to me, the most important investment we can make in ourselves has to be our brains. I mean, I can't think of anything else that is anywhere near. I mean, I get the spine thing too, but the spine
Yeah.
directly interrelates with the spine. I mean, the spine
Sure.
is just an extension of the brain, anyways, because obviously through the mechanoreception and all the information that's sent to the brain, that definitely is going to contribute to either health or disease in the brain. But I feel the socks are a great way. I mean, we're going to talk about essential oils a little bit, which you really turned me on to, because I used to think, how can these oils? But I mean, I get it now. I mean, because I've really got into the whole science with phytonutrients, especially with CBD and cannabis.
Right.
But the way I look at it too is the human being was designed to live amongst plants, and now we live in a concrete jungle, where we don't get the same exposure to our biosphere that we used to get. So there's going to be some ramifications and negative consequences from being really extracted from what we're really designed to live in. So I think that's what cannabis and the other phytonutrients that are available in essential oils are so important. And again, I don't want people to think, because I'm going to hear this shit about being a mixer and stuff. I'm like you. I want to do everything I can to increase not only my performance, but if I can help others do the same thing through my practice. Of course, number one, first of all, I adjust. Everybody comes and they get the chiropractic story, and then I just teach them different. Like I'm doing a workshop tonight on diabetes. I mean, I know chiropractic doesn't cure anything, but if we can use that as bait to get people in to understand that, it's important to lead a healthy lifestyle too. So now let's talk about your story before I'm done interjecting, but I'm trying to get people to understand. I mean, can you think of anything that's more important than brain health? Especially no,
absolutely not. And I'll touch on that when I get into my testimony with all of that, because I used to spend a lot of my life believing that your physical health is your number one asset in life. And if you ever lose it, nothing else really matters. And so it's eat clean, avoid toxins, exercise, drink water. It's all the lifestyle stuff that enhances who we are and gives us the ability to shine.
Right.
Well, I was in a head-on collision with an 18-wheeler, my wife and I, and she broke her neck, burst fractures on C3, 4, and 5. Literally 95% of the people with her injuries are killed immediately, and the rest are usually paralyzed. By the grace of God, she's doing amazing. She's had no neurological deficits. I threatened her doctor the night before her surgery and said, so help me, if you don't put a perfect curve in that neck on that lateral view, you'll never hear the end of my name. And so he literally took her metal plate home and pounded a curve into it for us. And she's got a beautiful curve. And it's been 21 years now, and she has no neurological problems at all.
The plate is from what levels to what?
3, 4, 5.
Okay. So
right there in the midst of it. She doesn't have
any motion in any of those segments then, obviously.
Correct. Yeah. But below, she hasn't lost the disc, and here's 21 years later. So I was the passenger. It was raining. We spun out of control down the highway into oncoming traffic on our way to a big chiropractic conference in Florida. And I braced my legs on the dashboard when I knew the last car wasn't going to miss us. Mm-hmm. And so I literally snapped my pelvis in half. Ripped the muscles off my legs, lost a good chunk of my intestines, broke many bones, had tons of stitches, and I was a hot mess for a long time.
Didn't you say you got out of the car just in that adrenaline,
in the midst of it, yeah,
physiology, and then you were actually capable of walking, and then you realized your pelvis is broken, and then didn't you fall down right after that or something?
Yeah, and then the cars kept splashing my face, and I had to pull myself out of the highway in my arms in the pouring rain. And, I could talk for a whole day or a whole hour about that first day, but needless to say, God had a plan for me, and my time wasn't up. And he came to me at that moment and spoke to me and said, listen, you're going to be fine. Your wife is fine. Lay down and rest. My head hit the ground. I said, Lord, you suffered so much more than I can ever fathom in this lifetime. Right. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And from that moment on, I chose not to suffer. So I said that motto thousands and thousands of times over the years, and I actually got better in about 4 years and went back to practice. And then a decade later, had another bad trauma. And then spending 2.5 years in bed. I had 7 back surgeries. They put a computer in my spine just as a last ditch effort to not feel any pain anymore.
What was the second injury?
I had fallen with stuff on me and tore up my spine when we were moving. And it was just ligament damage in 11 areas of my spine, 6 herniations. And then at that point, I've had IVF encroachment. I had stenosis in my neck and my low back. And I couldn't feel my arms or legs, but my hands and feet were burning broken glass feeling all the time, and stabbing pain from my occiput to my tailbone that I just couldn't departmentalize. So after all those years, I finally let them medicate me. I finally went in and had all the surgeries. They had me really convinced that this was the thing to do, and that was the cause of all my discomfort, and it was going to go away. And so, being desperate like that, I went for it, and being medicated and all these surgeries, I never got better. And we talked earlier how your physical health is your number one asset. I was used to being in a chair after 3.5 years, so I was okay with that.
Also stressing the mental health too. So
yeah,
you got mental health.
Mental health was the worst. I mean, that's most important.
Right.
Hands down. Right. I mean, I was living in a bubble. I couldn't even read a paragraph. I couldn't, think for myself, and I was a hot mess. Right. And so to find something like the brain core, like this neurofeedback stuff that I was doing, and I had it in practice before my second accident, but I wasn't doing it but twice a week. And so I was never making an impact. And so then I heard that you could do it for hours a day for people that are chronically ill, and get past their pain. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew that. So within just a short few months of doing it hours a day, I actually got out of my chair and could walk and dress myself and move and scoot and do things. That was a miracle.
Well, I thought you said that a lot of that you attribute to the fact that you started using essential oils. That's what I perceived from the first.
Well, the computer implant and the brain core was the first 3 months. I was still highly medicated, but I could get out of the chair on my own.
But you couldn't walk more than what, 30
scoot
feet
and
or
so
something?
forth. Then I was introduced to the essential oils, and at that point, it was like day one off my meds, and I didn't even realize I stopped taking my meds until 28 days later. And here I was on narcotics and mood ones and sleeping ones and breathing ones, and every 3 hours for years. And the oils made such an impact. The meds that they had me on would only take me from a 10 to an 8. And these oils took me from a 10 to a 0 for about 12 hours. It was a miracle. I got up out of that chair and I walked 5,700 steps the very first day. And then they said, do the oils for 90 days. We found out, I learned, I never knew about oils. Here I teach continuing ed for 2 decades, and the oils were never one of the topics in the weekend seminars. And I never really connected to a friend or another colleague that was passionate about oils. So it was just off my radar.
Right.
And so
didn't you say that there was some little old lady that came? Can I still say that? Is that PC? I don't even know what that's PC anymore. But you said some little lady came up to you when you were in your wheelchair and told you.
Yeah, she looked at me and goes, "Oh, honey, you look like you're really hurting." I remember looking at her like, "Really? What gave it away?" She gave me a bottle of this oil and says,
"The blue,
this
right?
is deep blue.
Yeah,
this is deep blue. Just put this wherever you hurt, and all your pain's going to go away." And I smiled at her and said, "Thank you so much." But then I left thinking, she thinks this oil is going to fix my pain. She's crazy. She doesn't know all the extent of what I've been through.
Or something, right?
It was 5 weeks later that I ran into some other friends, and they were really passionate about the oil. So we tried it that day, and it was like instant. And it was like, oh my goodness, I found the answer. I found the breakthrough, and it was just such a miracle. And so they said, do the oils for 90 days and then stop your program. So they said some oils enlighten you, some, wake you up, some calm you down, some fight infections, and others remodel tissue. And I was like Scooby-Doo, like, what? Right. Remodel tissue? I got a whole lot of tissue that needs remodeling. So I found the right protocol of all the oils in the right order that made the hugest impact. And then 90 days later, I stopped. And within 1 day, I'm back to a pain level 10 again. So I did it for another 90 days. I made it 4 days with no pain after that. Did it for another 90 days. That was August of 2014, and I've never had to do it since. Stenosis is gone, all the IVF encroachment, my herniations, the scar tissues, the scars all over my back are gone. So, I mean, it is just amazing, and it's been an amazing part of our life every day since. But even with that, I still couldn't exercise. I still couldn't walk, more than a couple hundred yards without starting to get discomfort. My feet would start to fall asleep. And so I still had limitations, but hey, I got my mind back.
Right.
I got my physical health back. I got to play with my kids,
To me, that's huge.
It was such a blessing. And then I found a few other things that finally took all the limitations off. So for 2.5 years, I've been 100%, healed and living the life of my dreams again, and so I moved my whole family out to Colorado. We're making up for lost time. We're mountain biking and skiing and, all the fun Colorado
skiing,
stuff.
Pal, I'm telling you that right now. So
I look forward to doing it with you. Absolutely.
Let me clarify something too, because so we don't get too much hate mail. Number one, you obviously utilize chiropractic care through
100%.
this whole ordeal. And like I tell people, I mean, chiropractic's the first tool in my toolbox that I pull. That's number one sword. But sometimes, and I take care. I put people on programs. It's not like I see them 2 weeks and I give up. But sometimes it helps to add stuff to the program. I mean, yeah, I get it. I get innate, but sometimes innate likes when you provide things that it innately needs to have a better healing environment. So many times, if it's phytonutrients, which I mean, is that what you would consider an essential oil phytonutrient? Or I mean, what would be your best description?
It's plant-based medicine.
Yeah, you know what? I hate that word plant-based. I fucking hate medicine. So let's call it plant-based health, what I would consider it. Health.
What I look at oils is they're alive. It's vibrational energy.
Right. It's perfect. Right.
And so that's what they are. My body uses so much of the vibrations on each side of the active ingredient to do something special and miraculous for me.
Right.
If you just start giving people the active ingredient in a mass dose or a synthetic version of it, now you got all these crazy side effects.
Right.
And so when you stick to nature, essential oils was primary medicine for centuries, up until 100 years ago. Then we started making the synthetic stuff, and then things started changing.
I mean, back before the whole Rockefeller, let's use petrochemicals and feed people a bunch of synthetic petrochemicals. That's what we use. We use plants to help us heal. And because we knew the healing potential with plants, and we'd utilized it for probably since the beginning of time in one way or another, whether it was, I don't want to get into the whole evolution thing or creation thing, but I mean, we've symbiotically lived with plants our entire life, so we have to understand that there has got to be some benefits that, I mean, obviously we eat them. We know that that's going to be beneficial because we need to ingest that because that's where we get our energy, because plants basically capture the energy from the sun and put it into into
100%.
cells, which we eat. So, but there's also got to be other constituents in the plants that have beneficial effects that help create a higher level of, like you said, frequency and energy and health in the human being. And I think we've gotten so detached from living congruently and living within our own biosphere that we don't see the forest before the trees, you know what I'm saying? And the reality is we need to get back more to plants. And again, I'm not saying all chiropractors need to do this shit. I mean, in fact, I think being straighter is the way to go in chiropractic as far as staying in our lane. But there's things that I want to employ in my life. Like, I want my brain to work, dude, and I want it to work at the highest level, and I do other things other than essential oil. And I just recently got into essential oils. I do cannabis. I do different mushrooms to help just keep this thing working at its highest potential. And then, I drink clean water. I don't do alcohol. I don't do sugar. I don't do all the shit that's going to obviously contribute to what we're seeing in society with 1 in 2 people going to be either pre-Alzheimer's. We got 1 in 4 kids has now got type 2 diabetes. I mean, and you've got cancer off the chart. And you can talk chiropractic and beat that green book till you're friggin' blue in the face. But I mean, again, there's other issues that people have other than, vertebral subluxation. And again, if you don't want to touch that stuff, I get it. But I like teaching people in my practice other things other than just the chiropractic story. That's just because that's my interest. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
Well, I agree with you. Nervous system has to be number one. Right. Number one priority. If you're not doing the adjustment first and clearing the nervous system, all this other work and all these other things that we do, they're not going to be as well received.
Right.
And so it's chiropractic first, and then in my opinion, it's Voxx technology right there with it, because it's going to help me hold my adjustment longer. It's going to help me have a better neurological experience. And, you know, I'm a very principled chiropractor, but I get bombarded with all sorts of products, all sorts of technologies. We all do.
Right.
And my principle and my code, in essence, is I do this neurofeedback stuff as my core business. And I got patients all over the country that we lease equipment to their home. And that way they're doing 2 to 4 hours of training every single day. So the only products I'm ever going to look at are the things that help those patients. Because these are people like me. They're in bed. They wish they could walk again. They wish they could get their life back. And I can help make that happen. But it's more than just the adjustment. It's everything that we can do to help enhance their neurological experience, give them the best nutrients. And, you know, when we talk about true healing, we have to look down into a single cell, because that cell has a lifespan. Our eyes are only 2 days, our throat's 2 months, our gums are 2 weeks. The lining in our lungs is every 8 days. And so when we're doing things to impact the life of the cell and make a cleaner version than the last and a younger version than the last, this is where we find our breakthroughs. And this is how we get them better as quick as possible. So my philosophy is get patients better as quick as possible and release them, and they're going to have a much better experience, and they're going to refer you a ton more people.
Right.
And then we want to just keep them well.
Right.
You know, it's very easy to keep somebody maintained well than it is to build their health back. But it depends on how fast you want to build it back. You know, it's like if you're willing to do everything, well, we can really be aggressive with these people and introduce them to several things in a row that we can have major breakthroughs in a month. We're doing stuff in a month and 2 months that takes typically a year to 2 years,
Right.
just because of the aggressiveness of how much we do in a short period of time.
Right. And even B.J. Palmer said that back in the day, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I mean, so... if you,
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, there's just a lot of things going on in society that most people don't. I mean, they don't get it. You know, you see the obesity and the diabetes and all the issues that are, you know, subluxation's huge. I get it. I mean, that's what I do. I adjust all day. I mean, you see,
Right.
I mean, I don't see as many people as I used to see back in the day because CalJam has a little bit of a sucks a little bit of my energy, but. You know, I still see 100 people a day, you know, and not compared to what I used to do, but, you know, but again, I like to do stuff for myself, and I just teach people things that I've learned. I mean, that's what I do. I continually study and learn. I mean, just hanging out with you that night, I learned so much amazing shit. In fact, I got notes here that I want to start doing just from the conversation we had earlier about, like, just diffusing frankincense while I sleep to help brain function, and, you know, and then you've got some things. For me, it's been a huge shift for me. I'm not only doing a CBD oil, but also a lot of the essential oils that I've been using. And I get adjusted, everybody. Relax. I get adjusted 3 times a week. And maybe you think that's overutilization, but I know that's what works best for me. And I'll put my neck up against anybody's neck. I don't care what anybody says. But I've really had some issues with just sleep and insomnia just because my brain never shuts the F up. And the oils, the cannabis, reading. I don't shoot any arrows, but I did a beamer yesterday. I had a guy that, you know, has been trying to get me to, and, you know, I did hyperbaric yesterday because I want to keep this all, I want to be able to know who I am when I'm 100 years old, you know, and I want to be able to surf as long as possible because, you know, a lot of times people, you know, they are blown away when I tell them I'm 60 years old and I do the things that I do. And it's because I do everything else in addition to the adjustment. Again, you could say, well, surfing, that's mixing because you're actually grounding and exercising and breathing and doing meditation, all that shit at the same time, you know, because it is, but that all really increases performance. Now let's talk a little bit more about the socks in Jay. So, really almost any patient or any person, let's get off the word patient, let's say any person could benefit from wearing those friggin' magic socks.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
You know, Jay, when he was just a young boy, his mother got MS, and she went from normal, healthy mom to wheelchair bound in like 18 months. And so as a 13-year-old, that was devastating for him. And she was everything to him. And so it occupied a lot of rent in his head. And he thought about it all the time. Now, his background was data encryption. And so he learned
that's good to bring that up. because I mean, if there's not a bigger, more badass computer on the planet than the friggin' human brain and nervous system.
I mean, you want to talk about how smart this guy is. When he was a kid, it was summer vacation. He was ready to go play with his friends, and his dad made him sit there and write the whole Encyclopedia Britannica word for word with illustrations and pictures, and then teach him every night what he learned. And so he's one of the most brilliant men that I've ever had the joy of spending a lot of time with. And him and I are like soul brothers.
Right.
And
so he really was into the whole software technology end of it. And then what he did is he applied his knowledge there to the human nervous system.
That's right. And there was so much correlation how things get hung up and don't make it to the brain and so forth. And so he'd taken a lot of research that had been done in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where these had some major breakthroughs, and then it just kind of got stopped, and they stuck the research in a silo somewhere, and nothing ever happened with it. And that frustrated him because for whatever reason, that was a huge breakthrough, and it wasn't perceived, and it wasn't taken to the next level. So he was trial and error for 6 years out of the last 10 years before he finally got the code. And it's like anything in life. It's mathematics and it's a code. And, you know, if you think of like an ant walking across your foot, that sensation literally jumps to 7 different nerves before it hits your brainstem to interpret it. Wow. So think of this code like all 7 of those signals in one in a harmony chord that just lights up the whole track instantly without having to go through the process of jumping. Or think of it like a Control-Alt-Delete on your computer. If a system gets hung up and the little wheel's spinning and you know it's thinking, but it's not doing anything, Control-Alt-Delete reboots that little system. So this technology is doing that.
I didn't even know that one.
Oh, that's for a PC, not a Mac.
Okay.
But the Control-Alt-Delete pulls up a task manager and says, hey, which program do you want to close because it's just not working?
Right.
And so you close it and then you open it up and it all works.
Right.
So it's kind of like a reboot. Or it's like a janitor's key. Okay, you got a lot of keys to the building. The janitor's key opens up all the locks.
Right.
So this tech turns your key chain into one janitor's key that gives you easy access through the entire building. And so it's phenomenal. And then he's done research on this for the last 4 years, from golf labs to workers' force, labor unions, you know, all of the fall risk and all of that stuff. And then since I've been on board this last year, it's been so amazing and incredible to meet with, you know, big CEOs of huge corporations and different companies and so forth that really see the value in this, and they're investing it into their employees. They realize for every dollar they spend on prevention, they're going to save $6 on workers' comp costs.
Right.
And
so let's explain to the audience how an employer would benefit by having his employees. So we're increasing brain function and probably, you know,
pattern recognition, memory recall, efficiency, decision making. You know, all of these things play a huge role in your day-to-day activities. And so we can prove that having the tech enhances the nervous system. And in essence, it's going to make you more efficient. You know, we go into hospitals and put them on the surgeons, and they're finishing a whole day of surgery and feeling like they still had 2 or 3 to go.
Yeah, that's what I feel with the socks, and I will never, ever do I mean, I'm really weird about when I do talks. I do like weird fasting, and I do bulletproof coffee with lion's mane, and I do some other nootropics. But I always make sure before I get on stage, I've got those friggin' socks on. And that's, you know, I kept telling Jay, can you make some, we put in some booties but that's why I'm excited about the patches, which we're going to wear them on the forearm, right?
You have to wear it on the forearm for the first 24 hours in order for that part of your brain to decode it. And then you can stick it anywhere on your body.
Okay.
You know,
my
and they're
question
waterproof.
is, are the patches going to make the socks obsolete?
Correct.
Are they?
Well, yeah, not obsolete. It just gives people a choice. The socks or the insoles last a whole lot longer. The patches disposable.
I got it. Yeah.
And so a lot of people are wearing flip-flops. Like, you're out in California, you're not wearing shoes every day. And so it's going to be a huge benefit.
Did you know?
I put it inside my waistline, right inside my belt. And so that way it stays there for several days, and it's not just falling off after a day.
Right,
you know,
right.
Women can put it inside their bra strap or something like that, and it'll hold it there longer.
Right.
But it is waterproof. It's designed to last. If you want to tape it back down, there's a piece of foam tech in there. So as long as you tape it back down or put it somewhere that's going to hold it against the skin, you're going to get the full benefit of it. But you're right. Every single person on the planet is going to benefit from this. I've never seen something that's so simple, affordable, and portable. And the compliance. I mean, most people do wear socks and shoes. And so to have the insoles in your shoes, those will last for years.
Right.
And you always have the tech. So I have them in my shoes that I'm doing my sports in, and I have them in my shoes that I'm, my dress shoes I wear most of the time. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I just wear the socks all the time too, unless, of course, I'm out and about in the summertime with my flip-flops on, then I'll, stick to the patch. But after I've seen the things I've seen on literally hundreds of people, you can't unsee it.
Right.
Especially with the brain. Like I see my own brain all red, and then I place my feet on the insoles, and instantly within 7 seconds, it just turns green.
That's what really kind of like convinced you. And then when you had that aha moment, that's when you call Jay and go, dude, this stuff is friggin' unbelievable, right?
I said, I get it. And I know I need to know more. When can we meet? Right. And he says, well, where are you? And I says, well, I'm traveling a lot. I'm in Atlanta this next weekend. So he flew to Atlanta. We spent 2 days together. And then I really got it, And, it's like I can only imagine him 10 years of getting it every single day. Every time I come out to doctors like you guys and take care of the whole staff. And the doctors, a lot of these doctors are super excited.
That's awesome. Yeah.
They're so excited, and they're even excited before I come, and their patients are loving it, and they're seeing it, and then I come, and it just takes it to a whole new level. Right. Now they're like, man, we were excited before, but now we really get it, Some of our most, honorable patients that we've tried so much over the years, and they're still kind of stuck, and we run out of things that we can throw at them to see if this can help give you that little bit of a breakthrough. It's like we all plateau at some point. This keeps that plateauing consistently climbing,
right?
And the cool thing is now I go back to some of these doctors a month later that have been wearing the tech for a whole month. We do the whole mapping with and without socks again, and when we compare their maps without socks before to without socks now, they're still showing like a 47% improvement. So like anything, if the brain can stay trained in this area long enough, it becomes permanent. You make that your new habit. I mean, think of how most people get dysregulated anyway with, like, let's talk about sleep. 62% of Americans do not sleep with doing some sort of sleep aid, whether it's natural or a drug or something, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. 62%, that's millions, hundreds of millions of people don't sleep well naturally. And so that's a serious issue. Yeah. We have a tech now that can address that and allow people to sleep. And when we do the maps, we can show them, this is what your nighttime would be like. And so many people can't turn their mind off. Put the tech on immediately, calms right down.
Right.
And so
for me, like you mentioned this when you were at my house, you don't like wearing socks when you sleep either, because I don't like anything on my feet when I sleep.
Right.
So you wear just the patch when you sleep.
Right.
Okay. And I just had kind of a little aha moment too. Another thought flash is maybe we should do. No, maybe we are. You don't have a choice. If you want to come back out to California, we can go surfing and do some other things in addition to it. So it's a more. Now that I've got a bigger vision of what you're doing, we should do a workshop, invite the local doctors in, and then we could also do a live stream, and so people could see what we're talking about with the brain scans, because people got a brief introduction when we did that. Didn't we do it on Facebook Live that day? Yeah. Just to give people, I mean, if you're interested, you're interested. If you think this is mixing, then go back to, I mean, again, I don't have any problem with that, but I like to do other things. I like to surf. I like to play music, which are all therapeutic in my mind. I like to eat healthy. I love when I get a good night's sleep. I got a great night's sleep the past 2 nights in a row, which to me is probably one of the most important aspects for me in brain clarity and decrease. Because when I don't get enough sleep, the only thing I'm thinking about is getting home and taking a nap. And I do the hyperbaric probably 2 or 3 times a week. And then I've been really added not only all the phytonutrients in all my superfoods, but I've been recently, just from hanging out with you, really gotten on board with even the essential oils and things that I can do to just take my friggin' health to the stratosphere and be able to just think better and articulate better and just do more stuff with better clarity. That's just what I'm at. And that's where I'm at with this shit, being 60 years old now.
Well, you only got one chance at it. And so your health is your number one asset, period. And mental health, like you and I both agree, has to trump everything else.
Right.
And
Well,
there's so
spiritual
many
health, I
people
think, is
that
up there. I think spiritual health is probably number one, and then we
Sure.
come to mental health and then physical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be connected to our creator, or however you want to call it, the great spirit or universal intelligence. I mean, I don't want to get into that whole frigging quagmire of religiosity.
I call that my little helper inside that does all the healing.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's hard to refute that intelligence, man. I mean, just to me, like, how do you know how many white blood cells and red blood cells? I mean, how do you know how many synapses in the brain? I mean, it's just like you have to be almost a little bit slow. I can't use the words because I'm getting a lot of trouble for not being PC lately, because we're in a very PC kind of climate right now. It's just you have to kind of be a little slowed down mentally to not really appreciate the intelligence that created you from two cells, and then which also the same intelligence that creates homeostasis and abundant health in your body. But it's also, if you're not providing it what it innately needs, it's going to create disharmony and dis-ease in the body, and that's what we try to teach people. So what do you think about the workshop idea?
I think that's a great idea. Absolutely.
I mean, we could probably get like 40, 50 guys in here and gals, and then we could live stream that. And so if anybody's interested under this podcast, which will be on my Facebook page eventually, you can put your names in there, especially if you're in the Southern California area. We'll make that available to you. Now, Jay really stepped up to the plate at Cal Jam big time. And then was this your first Cal Jam last year? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys did really well at Cal Jam this year. So Jay's excited. He sees the vision. He sees because he's got some big goals. He wants 1 billion people on the socks, right? Isn't that his goal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And not for monetary reasons. He just wants to make a huge impact in the world. That's what I love about this guy. He doesn't do it for money.
He's already done well with money. I think he's doing this as a way to contribute to society, is the way I look at it. I mean, he could probably just fold it all up and go surfing for the rest of his life.
I mean, he has been offered substantial income to buy the rights to this product, from hospitals to insurance companies to, all the big brand names. And it's not about the money to this guy. It's about he has a calling on his life to impact the world. When we know what this is doing, how can you keep your mouth shut and keep it secret?
Right.
It's something that's so affordable that every person on the planet, no matter where you live, can afford to have this tech on you. And that's so amazing in and of itself.
Well, didn't he have money? I mean, just from all his years in tech, that he really,
He did. He made it very, very successful. By the age 29, was a multimillionaire.
Right.
He did all the data encryption for a lot of companies before they became billion-dollar companies. And so 10 years ago, he decided he doesn't need to work anymore. He's going to devote the rest of his life to help his mother and solve mom's problem. And she's doing great, by the way, with all the things that he's found over the years. And she's just amazing. And so, it was a passion project that started out to help his mom. And then he realized that it's doing so much more than that. And when we really start to do more data and more testing and so forth, it's just so mind blowing that you can't unknow it. Right. And the fact that he's guarded it so securely. And another really cool thing about how brilliant this guy is this pattern that you see on the tech. It's literally his thumbprint. He hides it behind his thumbprint, and it's trademarked, and it's identity theft protection if you try copying it now. So it doesn't have to be patented as a medical claim. It's just a trademark copyrighted product worldwide in every country in the world. So it is secure, and it'll never be stolen. It'll be a 9 trillion chance that you can decode that code. The code's in there, but it's hiding behind his thumbprint. Wow. So, that's his brilliant side of his background in data encryption. He knows how to encrypt things. And so he found a way to secure this for the life worldwide without having to have patents that could be stolen or not renewed. Right. And I think that's brilliant as well. And just as a little heads up, he's got a whole lot more patterns coming down the pipeline that are going to do amazing things when it comes to the human experience. And so we're testing those as we speak. And so we won't be announcing any of that until it's officially launched. But there's so much more coming, and the neurotech and this whole wearable technology. It went from a $400 million business in 2008 to now 10 years later, by 2020, they say it's going to be a $34 billion a year industry.
Wow.
And all that wearable tech is usually just monitoring the body, which gives us information about how many steps and how my vitals are doing, but it's not really helping the body heal. I mean, it's not stimulating or doing something effective. This is the first wearable technology that I've seen that actually is enhancing your health, you know, and not just giving you information how you need to change things. But people are getting more and more accustomed that, okay, you have different types of tech that you're putting on your body. And so it's not so crazy. Like imagine, you know, back when we were in school before cell phones were around, if somebody said, hey, you're going to have a computer that looks like this and you can talk anywhere in the world, look up any piece of data anywhere and watch movies, you know? And they're like, how does that work? And you're like, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros coming down from a satellite. That's how it works. And you're like, wow, okay. We don't necessarily know that, but it is the way it is.
Right.
And so we just appreciate it. So the fact that all this wearable tech is happening the way it's happening now makes it so simple and easy for us to be able to share it with people around the world.
Well, I'm really excited to add you to the Cal Jam stage this year. And how do you feel about that?
I feel amazing.
Okay,
what an honor. Thank you to be amongst such great visionaries.
It goes both ways, bro. I'm honored to have you on the stage. I like having, you know, smart cats up there and smart gals too. I have to be politically correct here. But I mean, I you know, when I was introduced to Jay by one of my patients, Babette, and you know, I think he came to Cal Jam the first time, and he just friggin' immediately says, I want to be a bigger player in this event. I see the potential in this whole movement that you got going, but literally with the goal of objectively changing human consciousness. And again, this is another tool that we utilize to elevate people's level of consciousness. And he saw the potential, and then he hooked up with you, and then now you're speaking at Cal Jam this year. And I'm excited about that because I see an alliance here that's not only going to be beneficial for both of us, because I want to make sure that, you know, when somebody sponsors and Cal Jam, that they get their money's worth out of it. Especially like with Life University, I've been really focused on sending people to, you know, there's 3 schools that I refer to, but I'm going to really focus on trying to get them to Life U because they stepped up to the plate big time with the gala dinner. Because putting these events on is not friggin' cheap, and I need help from the outside. So we're all in this together. So I'm excited you're up there this year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excited to be part of it.
Are you going to have much different things to talk about than what we discussed here, or what are you going to?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to give us a little peep?
You know, my whole thing is I love inspiring people to pull out that Olympian inside of them and do whatever it takes to get to that next level of breakthrough health. And so, you know, I'll go a little bit more depth into my story, but, you know, I want people to leave with, you know, anything's possible. You know, you just have to want it bad enough, put your head down and run for it, and then do everything possible to make your dreams a reality. And so, you know, I've been wealthy, I've lost it all, and we've built it back up again. And in the losing it all, you become very humbled, you know, on what the majority of the world out there struggles with,
right.
You know, whether it's their health or their finances or relationships and moods and emotions. And, you know, I've been through all of that. So I have such a passion to be able to tap into people and give them that 1 ounce of inspiration in a short period of time that they're going to turn around and give us gallons of perspiration to run for it, you know, because I'm living proof that you can remodel your body, you can overcome things, and you can get your mind back. Your body is so wonderfully and fearfully made, and it's so amazing and how resilient it is and how amazingly it can overcome anything. You just have to believe it, and you have to go for it, and you have to just not look back, you know. And so there was so many times that I almost quit, you know, and I almost gave up. I call myself a certified optimist, but even the best of us have downsides, you know, and just holding on to that little bit of light that my family kept whispering in my ears, you're going to find it. Don't give up. You're going to find it. And it just gets me emotional thinking about it because I found it. And then I found another thing and then another thing. And then next thing you know, we've been able to help thousands of people that if I hadn't gone through that experience, they'd probably still be stuck in their situation. And so to be able to pay that forward and give back at this stage of our life is the ultimate gift, you know? And so each and every one of those people that come to CalGym, let me just say, I've been to a lot of seminars for 20 years, and that was the most powerful, most exciting, most energized crowd. These are people all on the cutting edge of what's new out there, what's going on, what do we need to know, what do we need to tell our patients, what do we need to know to keep this mission alive, and to
also,
have a platform like that is awesome.
Right, and I like people to understand that it's things that you can do to enhance your own health and in your own experience in life, and create longevity in a longer life, because I mean the doctor needs to be healthy too. I mean you can't, so there's a lot of things that people learn that obviously aren't chiropractic, but it's also important for us to lead healthy lifestyles, which I know is not chiropractic. But I mean, my whole thing is if we're going to literally go out and change the world, let's be the best form of us that we can be. I mean, you know, be at the highest level of our own expression. And there's other things that people can do outside of getting adjusted, whether it's drinking clean water or eating a plant-based, mostly a plant-based diet. You know, meditation, but also, you know, at the forefront of my concerns is, you know, we got to take care of Mother Earth too. We can't just continue to just rape and pillage and thrash and poison and slash and burn like we do. And you guys, it's like, for me, it's, you know, I've already lived pretty much 3/4, maybe, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But I mean, I'm really concerned about the future for, you know, your kids and their kids, and what kind of planet that we're going to be giving them when the oceans are definitely suffering and they're and just need of some just love and concern. And you know, the oceans to me are really just the foundation of really just life itself. And you know, when we're, you know, we're not going to have fish in the oceans in the next few years, and it's just, it's, to me, it's like we got to kind of wake the fuck up, because we got the whole biosphere is interrelated, and we can't just think that we're exclusive and we're on our own little domain, and what happens to the rest of the planet's not going to affect us. I mean, I don't know where we ever came from to think that, but that's one of the other missions with CalGym is, you know, global sustainability in addition to human health and human potential. So I am so stoked that you're stoked. I'm stoked that Jay loves the whole vision and he's on board. And, you know, anything else you want to say in closing?
Well, you know, there's only so many people we can each see one by one, you know, in a day's time, and the impact we're making on our planet. But when we lock arms with other visionaries that get the purpose of really just paying it forward and helping the planet and helping the people on the planet,
right,
you know, this is how we're gonna reach 1/3 of the planet, you know, and get 1 billion people and then some. Because they're not getting this information anywhere else.
Right.
You know, they don't get it on TV.
No,
you know, everything's
no.
so contained that people are searching now. We're seeing more and more platforms being put up where people are tapping into to get the truth. You know, I want the truth about my life and my future and what we can do to impact that and how we can pay it forward to the next generation. And that's really what all of us visionaries thrive to share, and that's the message we share. We have different ways of sharing it. We have different disciplines and practices and how we do it, but it's all the same message. We're trying to enhance our patients, get them better as quick as possible, and keep them well. You know, and if that's not your purpose, why are you even a doctor? I mean, that's, you know, you're not doing it for all the right reasons. And so I just love being, you know, shoulder to shoulder with so many great visionaries that we can sit here and have discussions and philosophize and find ways that we're going to truly impact the grassroots of healthcare moving forward, and be that light of the future to the new way we think about ourselves and our health and the health of our families, you know, and that's what the big picture for us. That's what it's all about.
Right. And I just want to say in closing that, you know, I have a lot of friends, but the last time you and I hung out, I mean, you and I clicked. We were like two peas in a pod from every, you know, fiber of our DNA. And I just really enjoyed, I mean, you and I could have stayed up all night talking. And that's my problem. Whenever, like when I go to seminars, I'm always the last one to go to bed, because I'd love to just talk and, you know, philosophize, like you said, and dream and do the things that really to help. And it's my purpose in life. And that's when, you know, that's what drives you. That's what drives Jay. That's what drives me, and that's what drives a lot of people. Is our purpose to really help and bring back hope and love and empathy and concern and the things that, you know, in this kind of dark world that we live in. But I feel very optimistic that the human spirit can turn things in the direction that it needs to go. And that's why, like you said, locking arms with people like you and Jay and everybody else that supports CalJam, I'm enamored, and I love you guys, and I just want to say that I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. And I was even more stoked when I heard, and when you told me that you lived in Hawaii and you actually know how to surf. So I got plenty of words. How much do you said you weigh 170 though, right?
Yeah. 175.
I remember shit like that. I can't remember people's names. I remember how much you weigh, and you know, you had the deep blue from the lady with you in your wheelchair. I remember. It's weird. I just, for some reason, I have a mental block. I don't know if names are just not that significant, or maybe they are. I don't know what the reason is, but I think there's
let's keep that tack on you longer, and then that'll all start to balance out for you.
All right. I just don't think my brain had. I don't think the hunter-gatherer of the Paleolithic day had to remember 20,000 names. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They probably didn't have any friends. At least that's how I rationalize it, you know? In fact, I don't think they probably
everybody's name was Man.
They
Hey,
didn't
Man.
even have names, probably. They just probably grunted at each other, you know? Now we got to remember.
Absolutely.
All right, bro. I'm going to go catch some waves right now. I've been in the water for 4 days. I've been on the road. But I just want to say I love and appreciate you. Love and appreciate Jay Dollywall from Voxx Life. And I appreciate everybody out there in CalJam land. Sure to get your tickets. We're already up to 700 ticket sales. Not bragging, I'm just saying the longer you wait, the shittier your seats, even though there's not a bad seat in the house, but I'd rather be up close. So I like to be where the energy is. And it's all rock and roll, baby. We got the greatest speakers, 3 live bands, 2 amazing parties, 18 hours CE, 5 hours X-ray. It's a legit gig, and I say, often copied but never duplicated. It's kind of hard to duplicate what we created at CalJam.
100%.
Just because that's the way I do shit. If it's going to be a party, it's going to be a badass party. But it's a party that's very serious about changing consciousness and the direction of the planet. But at the same time, we like to have a little fun too, don't we, bro?
Amen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. We won't mention phytonutrients anymore, so let's rock on. All right, anything else?
That's good. Thank you, brother. Great seeing you.
Out of here. I'm going to go do some surfing, and because you already got your workout in, so I'm jealous about that. But I got to get my work done first, and then I go surfing. All right. God bless you, brother. So let's talk
Have a great day.
We'll talk about doing the workshop within the next probably few weeks if we can. It's an easy flight from Denver to Orange County.
Yeah, you bet.
Southwest Airlines. Love you. All right.
Thanks, Doc.
Rock and roll, bro.
What's your number one reason for coming?
Just the energy, the love, and getting to see so many different speakers talking about everything that I care about.
To get the newest and latest great information on what I can't hear in normal mainstream media publications, that I can hear new information on alternative medicine that, I think in a lot of cases can be as curative, if not more curative, than traditional medicine.
It's something we had to try, and did not disappoint.
It was a combination of the opportunity for continuing education credits, getting out of the Northwest where it's really cold, somewhere nice and sunny, and also I have heard good things about kind of CalJam as being something that will increase your passion for chiropractic.